cycle. So tempo long cycle, just like when we do our tempo snatch, is we set the clock to beep at regular intervals. And we follow the beat, basically. That's all there is to it. So I'm just in the middle of some 24 kg tempo long cycle. So you can get a idea of what that looks like. So I'm working at, what am I working at? 9 RPM. So it's going to beep every 7 seconds, and I'm just following the beat. I can go for a minute. Okay, fun stuff. All right, so I'm going to slow that down to 8 RPM with the 28s, which I'm super looking forward to here. So, can I flip this guy? I can flip this guy. Huh. So I'm gonna adjust this guy to beep every 8 seconds, which will be like 8.5 RPM, something like that. But we'll do 9. Set the rest interval to 0, so it just keeps cycling through the work interval. And then you're gonna set your rounds for whatever duration you wanna do. So let's say if I'm doing 9 RPM, I'm gonna set for 9 rounds, and that's gonna be a minute. 9 reps per minute. And that's how I like to do. That's how I like to do our tempo stuff. With snatch, I usually set it to beep to put us on a tempo of 12 RPM, 15 RPM, or 20 RPM. So your intervals there would be 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay. Always remember to wet yourself down for that extra friction. Get some chalky chalk. So I did some 28 kg long cycle 2 days ago. And then I did some squats and some other stuff with a friend last night. So yeah, generally I wouldn't go up this heavy, but you know, when the camera's on, you gotta deliver. So 8 RPM with the 28s. That last set, I'm feeling a little stiff and weak today. So that last set felt like there was a lot of pulling. So you want to look out for that stuff, right? And use that to help you make some better judgments, which right now, this is not going to be a great judgment. But like I said, camera's on. So let's do it. 10 seconds. That was awkward. That's a little fast for me. Hope you enjoyed watching me struggle there. Okay. So, yeah, I'll go back down to the 24s. I've been trying to get more sets in with the 28s on the regular. Just because I usually don't. I kind of stay away from them and only lift them maybe like once a week, sort of thing. I'm a minimum effective dose kind of guy. So, because I do a lot of other training, so it's hard to find the balance. So, I'm going to finish my next 2 sets with just the 24s, still moving at 8 RPM, which for me right now at the beginning of the year is a bit like it's pushing the pace because I still need to build up to that level of work capacity. Okay, let's do this. 10 seconds. Hopefully these will feel nice and light now. They swing better, that's for sure. I thought that was 8. Yeah, I am on 8. But I set the timer for 9 rounds. That's what I did. Oops. That's okay. Okay, I'm going to get one more set in here. Take a little bit of a rest. Let's double check that tempo. Every 8 seconds, yeah. 8. 8 rounds. Give you the side profile. It is helpful to use the mirror, at least in the beginning, I think. Kind of depends on what you have to benefit from using a mirror. I like to use it to get some visual feedback on how aligned my overhead is, because like I don't have the best elbow extension, so oftentimes I'm a little out to the side and bent elbows. But I work really hard on trying to keep everything straight. But some days it's easier to get in that position than other days, but I can't always feel when that day is. So sometimes it feels fine and then I look in the mirror and it's all cockeyed. So today it's actually looking really straight. So I just kind of like to have that feedback. And if I do a rep and I get that visual feedback where my arms are not quite straight, then I know I messed something up on that previous rep. I don't usually chalk it up to me just getting tired because that's not really useful. So I just try to put a little bit more snap into that next rep, right? And I think generally it's good practice if you despite our sport being a lot about economy of movement and trying to kind of minimize energy expenditure as you go, you gotta keep the long game in mind. And so if you put up crappy reps, you are definitely gonna fatigue a lot sooner because you're getting in bad positions, you're wasting energy, et cetera, et cetera. So if you put up that little ante of like a little bit more effort when you actually do the rep so that you don't have to make corrections as you go, then you're gonna save a lot more energy. So when I'm in training, I try to use every tool at my disposal to try to make sure that I do that. Okay, last set. Oh, fun stuff. Okay, so one last note on the tempo stuff. You might say, well, okay, you tell me to do 8 RPM. Why don't I just watch the clock and count myself and try to do 8 RPM in a auto-regulated sort of way? The issue with that is that depending on, I guess, what kind of personality you have, you will be either the person who kind of lets your fatigue get the better of you, or the person who tries to overcome that fatigue and try to maintain that tempo. So when you're auto-regulating on tempo stuff and your program says 10 RPM and it says, 1 minute on, 1 minute off, and you go and do it, and you just try to hold that tempo by counting along and trying to gauge it yourself, it's not as consistent, right? And there's nothing really to keep you accountable that much for falling out of your tempo. So when we do the tempo stuff using the timer, we're able to give you that audible cue that triggers you to hit that next rep. And the consequence of falling out of that tempo is the timer's gonna beep, right? It's on its tempo. And if you fall outside of that, you're gonna start to feel a little bit discombobulated, and you're gonna feel like you're either catching up or having to slow down to get back on that timer. So it really keeps a fire lit under your butt to maintain that tempo. Plus, if you have been just auto-regulating for a while and then you do a tempo session as like a bit of almost like doing a retention test when we talk about motor learning and we try to teach someone a new skill and then we come back like a week or two or so later, or whatever the time interval is, and we do a retention test to see how much they've retained. It's kind of like that. So we want to ingrain that tempo. If your target, for example, if you're doing the Cali Open, which is taking place essentially today and tomorrow, maybe you have a goal of, okay, Longcycle, I want to do 80 reps in my 10 minutes. So you need to be able to hold an average tempo of 8 RPM, right? So if you've been practicing 8 RPM for the last, month or so, and then we put you on a tempo set and you find that you can't keep up, well, your auto-regulation wasn't that great, right? And when you go and do your set at the Cali Open and you come up short, we know why, right? So the tempo stuff is really helpful. You can use it for snatch, you can use it for Longcycle, you can use it for jerk. So try it out, and yeah, maybe it'll be a mainstay in your programming. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.